The next wave of business leaders won't just use AI, they'll master momentum with it, starting now. Welcome to the Mastering AI Momentum Show, where visionary founders and driven business leaders turn artificial intelligence, automation, and scalable systems into real growth, real scale, and real freedom. If you're ready to break bottlenecks, reclaim your title, and scale smarter, this is your playbook. Let's dive in. Here are your hosts, Allie Porter and Elise Smith.
Welcome back to the Mastering AI Momentum Show, where we explore how innovators, leaders, and creators are building smarter systems, not just for profit, but for purpose. I'm Elise Smith, your business AI strategist with Millionaire Momentum AI Agency, where we help business owners and marketing leaders integrate AI systems that scale their reach, simplify their operations, and build a foundation for long-term growth. Now, today we are going to look at a different side of AI, which I'm super excited about, not just how it's built, but how it's governed. And I have an incredible guest, guys. You are going to absolutely love Marla. So I'm joined by Marla Grossman, a Washington, D.C. based attorney and partner at ACG Advocacy, one of the nation's top boutique lobbying firms specializing in intellectual property, technology policy, and AI regulation. Marla represents some of the most influential organizations in media and innovation, from the Motion Picture Association to the Authors Guild and the Intellectual Properties Owners Association. She's spent decades advising on the balance between creativity, innovation, and technology, including landmark issues like AI training data, copyright licensing, and digital ethics. So Marla, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Awesome. So let's start with your story. Who do you serve and how do you serve them at ACG Advocacy, and how did you get started in this work?
My clients are in the creativity space and the innovation space. So in the creativity space, it tends to be a lot of what we think about as entertainment clients. So in the motion picture and television industries, publishing, book authors, magazine authors, the publishers themselves, and then several clients in the music space, both on the recording side and on the composition side, the songwriters, the composers, and the lyricists. I also represent creators in the visual space, graphic artists, digital typography, photography, creative industries like that. And then in the innovative space, I represent a broad swath of innovators, really covering so many of the different industry verticals, everything from pharma, bio, traditional manufacturers, high-tech, software, AI. It really runs the gamut. Basically, the commonality for those innovators are those who seek to protect their innovations with patents, which is a form of intellectual property.
So cool. So are you yourself like an artist? Like, is that how you got started with this? Because I know you have a law school background. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, thank you. I have always admired the arts and creativity, and not being a talented artist at all myself, or musician or actor or anything like that. I really found my energy from supporting those that do create and that do innovate. Creativity to just make this a more pleasurable and meaningful world, and innovate to make it a better world for people. And so that's really where I found my space and energy and passion.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I have no artistic bone in my body whatsoever, but I love to be able to support them in that. So
exactly. When I start singing, the whole family disperses. So there's no talent there on my side.
Oh, so fun. But you did start in law school. So have you always wanted to be a lawyer, or where did that come from?
I come from a family of lawyers. My father is an antitrust lawyer. My sister is a transactional lawyer. She deals in the hospitality and senior living space. So that's just what I grew up knowing. But when I got to law school, I realized that perhaps traditional law practice wasn't going to be for me. None of it really stimulated me. I wasn't terribly excited by what I was doing. So when I was in law school, I was at Harvard Law School. So I wandered across the campus to this wonderful Kennedy School of Government that they have in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I took a class, basically like Lobbying 101. And that's where my eyes were open. I was like, wow, okay, a class that I'm not going to sleep through, a class that I'm going to attend. And I started taking some more classes at the Kennedy School. And that's when I decided that I would really pursue a career in public policy.
Wow, I love that. Your family get-togethers must be very interesting with that many lawyers in the family.
Well, the most interesting talk sometimes is when we don't talk about law, but yes, we
I love that. So obviously you were in DC and kind of like the rise of, I dare say like the internet, and, you've been able to see a lot of things in Washington, DC. And then now you're at the forefront of AI policy. Like, how do those eras compare in terms of disruption and opportunity and everything that's going on?
I think they're so analogous. There's so many issues that we're facing now with AI that we absolutely faced, and to some degree are still facing, but back in the 1990s. One of the big differences is the understanding now of how important and disruptive the new technologies can be. When I say understanding, I mean in the public policy and federal government space.
Mm-hmm.
So when I, for instance, worked at the Senate Judiciary Committee back in the 1990s, that's a committee that still deals with intellectual property, patents, copyrights, trade secrets, with technology. When I dealt with those issues back in the 1990s, a lot of times our hearing rooms were partly empty. We would hold briefings and not that many people would attend because at least in Washington, D.C., there wasn't the understanding, I think, at that time about how the internet was going to absolutely transform our lives. So while there were pockets in the country, Silicon Valley, of course, and other areas that really were at the vanguard of understanding how the internet was going to change everything, it really took federal policymakers years to catch up and understand how important that would be.
Wow.
Now, of course, with artificial intelligence, the policymakers understand how important this is. And I'd say half of our conversations going on in Washington, D.C. nowadays have to do with technology and artificial intelligence. That doesn't necessarily mean that the policymakers always know the best path forward, but they do understand how important it is.
That is so interesting, especially because I feel like when the internet came out, I mean, I don't want to date myself or anything, but that the people didn't quite understand the impact, and it's really, I mean, they had no idea that the internet was going to be this life-changing, world-changing type of thing. And then when it comes to AI, there are so many people who just instantly get it. Like, it's almost like the whole world just immediately sees what potential is there. But with that potentiality, there's also some concerns. Can you talk to us about that and like what you're really watching out for in DC when it comes to that?
Absolutely. There's several concerns that we have, but it's also mixed with enthusiasm for the technology. So what I focus a lot on is maintaining the humanity and the human-centric focus behind the artificial intelligence. So what I mean is that artificial intelligence and humanity do not need to be competing sources. They can be complementary. They can be partners in progress. So AI is going to be changing the tools that we use and the speed at which we operate, but it doesn't have to diminish the rights of those who create and innovate. And to me, the policy needs to evolve, not just to keep pace with the technology, but to stand up for the rights for the humans behind it. Not just those who created some of the creations of technology that the AI is going to be using, but making sure that whatever the use of AI is does not then diminish our humanity.
Mm.
To me, innovation should serve society. It shouldn't overshadow it. It shouldn't diminish the society. It should serve it. It should embrace it. It should enhance it. And I think that's very possible. But I do think that important guardrails will be necessary to preserve the human rights while there is this evolution of technology, specifically artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and I bet like any artist right now, regardless of what space that might be in, are like cheering you on when you say that, because you have things that can create images just like that, and now you can create music just like that. I mean, there's if you're an artist, you can use these tools, and that's incredible. But it also, you don't want to take away the humanity, like you were talking about. So, can you give us an example of what you mean by making sure that innovation doesn't overshadow humanity?
I like to refer to something called the 3 Cs. To me, with artificial intelligence, the developers and the users should make sure that they have the consent of those creative images or creativity that they're using, the consent. They should have the credit. They should give credit to where they got, obtained, or secured that creativity. And there should be compensation when they take someone else's intellectual property. So those are the 3 Cs that I like to consider. And if we think of those as fundamental pillars or guardrails, what I mean is that when it comes to policies, for instance, the policies that support the development of the technology should respect the current rights that creators, innovators currently have. And that you don't need to get rid of those rights in order to support the technology. So let me give you an example. Right now, AI systems, several AI systems, are scraping wholesale books, music, images. If they are getting consent for that, giving credit and compensation for those who made the creations, then that could be an absolutely wonderful thing. But if there is this scraping and the taking of the intellectual property without the consent, credit, and compensation, then what the AI systems are doing is not only potentially breaking the law by infringing on someone's copyright or patent, let's say, but they are then potentially ushering in a product that will then compete with the very creative images or technology that they have taken to make their own creation. So it's akin to someone potentially breaking into your house, taking some of your things, and then using it to compete with whatever the things that you have. And that's just not right. And not only is it not sort of ethically right, but we have laws in place in this country to protect creativity and innovation. That's what intellectual property is. And in fact, in our Constitution, the only time the word right actually appears in our Constitution is in the intellectual property provision, because our founding fathers knew how important it was to culture, to society, to the economy, to actually give someone a property right in their creation or innovation.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the two can really flourish hand in hand, but there has to be a mutual respect of each other's rights.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm sure there's people who are watching or listening to this, and they're probably thinking like, the big LLMs, like that they're only using public information. Are you saying that some of those, or maybe even if somebody creates their own LLM, is actually scraping private information? Like, how does that work?
Well, a couple things. Number one, just because something is public doesn't necessarily mean it's authorized. So, for instance, there's a pretty well-known case right now, the Anthropic case. And the judge ruled there that in the instance where the judge believed that Anthropic took copyrighted content from pirate sites, that pirate site might be public, but it's not authorized. So what the judge is saying is you can't go into a pirate site, which means an unauthorized site, take the information and then use it for yourself and claim that that's okay. That's not okay. Now, of course, Anthropic and the authors had reached a settlement. It was a $1.5 billion settlement. And that was just one case and one settlement, but it's an indicator that many in our judiciary are not going to think it's okay to go to a pirate site and take stuff. That's from a pirate site. There are many, though, authorized sites that are out there where you can find wonderful creative content. You can, there's so many different sources, public, online, to get movies, to get books, to get visual art. But just because you can access it publicly doesn't mean it's okay to take it without authorization. So for instance, let's just talk about going into a movie theater. That opens to the public. Anybody who wants to can buy a ticket to go in, but you can't sneak into that theater. Or if you sneak into that theater, you can't then take a camcorder and make your own film. So I think that is a common misperception that public means authorized, and it does not. Here's an example. Talk about like the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. You can walk in for free. That's open to the public. But it doesn't mean you can take a painting off the wall and run out with the painting.
Wow. No, I think that's just put it in such a different perspective, because I think that a lot of us in our minds are thinking, well, if it's public, then it's authorized.
Right.
But the fact that you really show, like the comparison between the two really helps. So, I love what you're doing. I think it's amazing. And especially for standing up for the humanality, if that's even a word,
Right.
of what we are and who we are and how creative we are as human beings. So let's talk about ACG in general.
And I'm sorry that my film is getting a little fuzzy. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I
It's
apologize.
all good. I know it's kind of gone back and forth, but it's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, there we go.
So, obviously you have a boutique firm with like a powerful reach. What do you think has been the secret to your firm's longevity and influence in Washington?
A few things. My colleagues at ACG are known for two things, really. Number one is opening doors access. That's really important because you have to get in front of the policymakers in order to make your case. But I think that what distinguishes us is that we're known for really understanding the substance behind the argument, that my colleagues are really experts in their field. They have served public service, whether it's in Capitol Hill, in the administration, often both, in those substantive legal and policy areas. And so they really couple the substantive understanding with the access. And then really, if I were to add a third reason, it's because we're trusted advisors. We have a reputation for making honest, ethical cases not mixing the substantive knowledge and the access, but with an authenticity and a trustworthiness that is really an important commodity in Washington, D.C., because there's not necessarily an overwhelming sense of trust and authenticity in the city. And so when you have it, I think it's really valued.
Yeah. And I would say you're a perfect example of that from even just the couple of conversations that I've had with you. And it's really neat that your company does that, and that you guys are standing up for the people who maybe don't know how to get their voice out there. That's really, really powerful. So when we think about your business, like ACG in general, how are you guys using AI? Like, are you guys anti-AI, or are you like all in? What does that look like for
Yeah,
you?
we embrace the ethical use of the technology. So really the best and easiest way to do that is to license whatever technology, whether it's the artificial intelligence technology or others. And so we license the technology that we use. We license the news sources that we get, which is so important in our business to stay on top of what's going on. We license artificial intelligence systems that help us create news blurbs for our clients faster, draft press releases, draft position statements, draft amicus briefs when we need to. So we use the technology, we use artificial intelligence, but we license it to make sure that it is ethical, and making sure that those licensed uses are using, again, those 3 C's. They are getting consent, they're getting credit, they're giving compensation to the creators and innovators who are feeding the systems.
Awesome. Yeah, that totally makes sense, especially with what you were just talking about. So, what has been the funnest way that you've used AI personally?
Oh, wow. Well, most fun for me, I'd say, is creating little virtual characters of myself when I'm sending things to clients, and I'll have a sort of a visual with lots of curly, crazy hair. I think just in terms of fun, I've always found that to be the most fun. Also, frankly, if we're on a virtual meeting, sometimes using the visual effects to put the crazy hats or the antennas, or change the background and lighten the mood a little bit. I always enjoy. I tend to gesticulate a lot, so I enjoy those features sometimes when I put my hands up, and then virtual confetti is thrown up in the air. Those are probably the most fun ways that I've used technology and AI lately.
I love that. Now, so if we look, 6 to 12 months in the future, what's the big vision or focus for your work and your clients? Like, where is ACG going, and you in particular?
Well, our business is absolutely booming. There's been a lot of change in Washington, D.C., and part of what we do is help our clients navigate the change in the federal public policy landscape. So whenever there is more change, more upheaval, we have generally more work. And that has proved to be true with this administration, as it has in the past. So we are handling a bigger load of clients than ever. What we're hoping substantively is that the public policy makers, as well as society at large, really understands that artificial intelligence and evolving technology and humanity can go hand in hand. One of the easiest ways to do it is to make sure that whatever technology one uses is licensed properly. There are so many different licensing entities that are out there right now, doing direct licenses, doing collective licenses. I mean, there are so many in the visual art space, in the text-based space, in the music space, in the audiovisual space. So we are trying to make sure that there is appropriate ethical policy that's being promoted. And that's our hope for the next 6-12 months and beyond.
I love that. That's awesome. If you could have like an AI agent built to help you to grow your company, what kind of task would you give it?
Keeping us up to date real time on the tens, hundreds, and sometimes thousands of different activities that are happening within Washington, D.C. and across the nation, but that affect the federal public policy issues that we're working on. Really just there's so much happening. There's an overwhelming amount of activity and content, and being able to sort of boil that down to really see what is most important to our clients. That's really, and we have certain tools that are helping us to do that. But if I were to try to have the most perfect new technological creation, that would be it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially when it comes to information management, like there's just so much there that I think that that's where technology can really help us shine as human beings, is that we don't have to know everything because we can tap into these sources. And yes, we can absolutely create an AI agent for you like that. So I love it. Thanks for going there with me. As we're wrapping up here, we've kind of had this theme of making sure that we utilize AI responsibly, and I love your 3 C's. But is there any other like golden nugget that you would share that you'd like people to remember in using AI responsibly?
Well, I'd say if you're going to be using AI, make sure that the AI system you're using has gotten appropriate licenses. That's how you can make sure as a user that you are not aiding and abetting unauthorized technology that is degrading humanity rather than embracing it and enhancing it. There's so many great licenses and licensing entities out there that just make sure that your work is licensed, you're using licensed technology that respects the 3 C's. I keep coming back to that. It is about consent and credit and compensation, so we can continue to have the wonderful arts that embrace and celebrate the humanity alongside of the incredible innovations like artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. And so for those people who want to be responsible and use tools like that, is there a website that they can check out to make sure that that their tools and systems have proper licensing? Like, what is that first step to be able to figure that out?
Well, it's a great question. One of my clients is a terrific organization called the Copyright Alliance. And they actually are the organization that represents all the different creators, both organizations, companies, and over 2 million individual creators. And they have a host of wonderful content on their website. For instance, they even have like a list of organizations that offers authorized, legitimate AI licenses for creative works. And that is a terrific place to start. So, you'll know, for instance, there's like a wonderful organization called the American Society for Collective Right Licensing. And they actually establish collective license and administer, collect, and distribute these rights with money from foreign agents. And then you've got something called Created by Humans, that is a wonderful collective licensing organization for text-based creations. We're talking books and magazines and things like that. There are wonderful licensing entities that will appropriately license music. So I think that's just a great place to start, to check out that list. Another thing I would really encourage creators to do, particularly if they are authors who have published works and think that they might be entitled to some of the money from the $1.5 billion Anthropic settlement with authors, is I would go to the Authors Guild is another one of my clients. The Authors Guild, I'd go to their website and you can literally type in the name of your book and see if that might be entitled to compensation. So I think those are some initial places that I would start. If you're a songwriter, composer, lyricist, I would go to, for instance, the website for the Society of Composers and Lyricists. They have wonderful resources and tools there. For songwriters, you could also go to the Songwriters Guild of America website. Terrific resources there. So there's some really good resources online. Or reach out to me and I can help point you in the right direction.
I love that. No, that's so great. I was trying to keep up with some of the websites, and we can add more of those in the show notes. But yes, I think that's kind of the main thing here is, go to acgadvocacy.com and be sure to reach out to Marla, because I think this is something that is going to be talked about more and more. This might be a new conversation for a lot of people that are listening to this, but it is important for us to preserve our humanity and our artistic ability and just the gifts that we bring to the table. So I've loved this conversation. Thank you so much. So obviously we have acgadvocacy.com, but if people want to connect with you, where is the best place to get connected with you?
I would encourage them to reach out to me via email. You can get my contact information on the ACG Advocacy website, or you can email me, my last name Grossman, at acg-consultants.com. And you can call our front desk and they can connect you or anybody to me.
Awesome. I love this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being part of the show today. I think you've given us a different perspective that we really do need to be thinking about. So thanks again, Marla.
Thank you for having me. It's been terrific, and keep creating, keep innovating, everybody. And thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for tuning in to the Mastering AI Momentum Show, where innovation meets integrity and technology that really builds trust in the things that we're building and the people we're building for. So we will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Mastering AI Momentum. If today's episode gave you clarity or sparked a breakthrough, share it, review it, leave us a comment, and show Ali and Elise how you're turning AI into ROI. And make sure you subscribe, because the next episode could be the strategy that unlocks your next level. Until then, build smart, scale fast, and let AI multiply your momentum.